Today's episode of TNC Movie Nights is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way to monetize your podcast. They help by giving podcasters just like us a flat rate for ad space, so you always know what you're going to get when you have an ad presented by Podgo. You can apply today and be immediately connected to advertisers that will fit your audience. Just go to podgo.co, that's Podgo.co, and when you go there, there's a little box that says, "How did you hear about Podgo?" Make sure you let them know the movie night sent you. This is TNC Movie Nights. Here we go again. Another one. Right in 2021. Hitting the year off right with just 2 back-to-back episodes of just kind of talking about stuff. But this one's with a little bit more of like a vision insight, because there has been so much movie news coming out lately that we felt like we have to do another episode of talking about some of that news, because we're a movie thing and we do movie stuff. So, that being said, before we do a deep dive, how you been, Brandon?
I'm doing well. I think I found like a routine, just a nice routine for all of our content that I edit. And it just feels so good to get all of it done on time and just have a set schedule now for myself. So far 2021 has been just a nice lift off my shoulders with any sort of the content. It's been really smooth for us.
That is awesome, man.
Manny's been killing it on the website.
That is awesome. For those of you that don't know, Brandon is basically the TNC editor. Pretty much everything goes through him at some point. And then Manny is pretty much the website guy, at least historically and currently.
100%.
He handles all that stuff. So yeah, there's been a whole lot of stuff going on. But I'm sure they knew that because they watched the show. Yeah. All right. So, is there any of these breaking news stories that you want to talk about first? Because we got some doozies here.
That's tough. Honestly, I really do want to start with Deadpool.
I gotta do too.
Yeah.
It's such fake news. All right. Oh, you take this one. You're the superhero guy. I feel bad talking about all this superhero news.
No, you're good. It has been finally confirmed that Deadpool 3 is happening. Which, I'll be honest, I would have been blown away if it didn't. Because the way things were treading, the way things were discussed and talked about, it definitely seems like Deadpool 3 was just kind of in the figuring out stage to like see what and how they're going to do it properly. So, really glad that the MCU is finally accepting and Deadpool will be joining in. It looks like it is going to be a rated R film, which will be very interesting for Disney. But again, I mean, realistically, what are you doing? You're just slapping the Disney logo on the front and it's still going to be a Deadpool movie. So I'm definitely really excited to kind of see where it goes. But Alex, with this being Disney now, outside of just the vulgarity, what are you really hoping that you don't see changed from Fox to Disney Deadpool?
Well, there's one big thing, and that has been that like this has been like Ryan Reynolds and company's baby throughout. And so all of the stuff we've seen so far is that will not change. He still has 100% creative control over this. And I mean, they lost, I believe it was Tim Miller. He was the director of the first one. They lost him for the second one because their visions kind of clashed a little bit. Second one still did great. So I think as long as it kind of stays in-house and they don't try to overproduce it with too many different voices coming in, I think it'll still be okay. What about you? What's one thing that would scare you?
It would scare me a little bit because, hey, right now, Disney was, being like the cool parent, and they're like, hey, yeah, we're going to give you Deadpool 3, and it'll be rated R. I'm worried when it comes to it, they're going to see it and be like, whoa, we didn't think it was going to be this rated R, or this level of it. I mean, of course, they've already seen the first 2 Deadpools. I mean, they know what they're getting into. But Ryan Reynolds, as we saw in the second one, likes to push boundaries and limits.
A little bit.
So I am a little worried that we are going to see maybe a little pullback from Disney at times. And I hope the movie doesn't kind of feel like fall a little bland. and it's going to come out to be like, yeah, so glad we got to do it and all, but Disney did kind of, get their hands on a little bit, and we had to take out some stuff. So I really am scared of that happening. But Ryan Reynolds he's a really understanding person. I think he'll be able to kind of talk his way properly when it comes to smooth talking his way through the Disney ranks, that I'm not really too worried about this, to be very honest.
Honestly, same. And I'm more excited about it because, like you said, it is now officially going to be an MCU movie. So he's going to be with that group. So all of like the cameos and team ups are now just kind of waiting to happen. It will still be rated R, so you're not going to lose the essence of it. And I also heard there's a rumor that the other like space gems might make an appearance in this one, because we already did the Infinity Stones.
Okay, interesting.
And then there's like 5 other space gems that I don't know a whole lot about, but one of them is like the continuity gem, and there's a rumor that might be like their ticket into explaining, justifying / expanding the breaking of the fourth wall, so that way he'll be able to break the fourth wall so much that it's not just a comment to the viewer, but it might be like interacting with the writers.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, man. If you're a Deadpool comic fan, you know that's nothing new. He's jumped out of the books, and the Illustrated they did Deadpool Kills Deadpool. He was killing the actual writers of it. It happened in another one that I don't even remember, but that's a big thing, is being able to have sort of free reign to break the fourth wall in new ways, so it doesn't just become an old tired thing of just like, hey, this is for you, viewer. It also might be a way to, it might be the way they introduce him into the MCU is another thing that they were talking about, and how Josh Brolin might actually like reprise his role as Thanos for a brief second there.
Oh my god.
And so you would have the crossover of Josh Brolin literally playing Thanos and Deadpool, or not Deadpool, Cable
yeah.
in the same Deadpool movie, and it would be their way of like going, and I mean, they've already made jokes about that, so that they would do that in such a funny way. And so I'm really excited about that. And then plus, not to like move topic, but it's still in line with Deadpool, Tom Holland has already talked about how he wants a team up movie, a rated R team up with Deadpool. So I don't know if that's something that they'll maybe touch on in Deadpool 3, if we're gonna have to wait till either Deadpool or Spider-Man 4 maybe. I don't know, but the door's open for it, and that's really fun now with everything that Marvel is doing right now, which seems to be everything, that now Deadpool is just officially in the universe. I'm so excited.
I'm very excited to see everything that they can do. And that I do kind of agree with you, man. I think there is more to be excited about than to be frightened about with what Marvel might take away rather than what they could bring to the table for Deadpool. If they do kind of go crazy and try things like a Thanos Cable kind of tie into one movie would be really cool. And there's so many different ways they could bring it all in together. I mean, Deadpool could be the catalyst to how the X-Men come into the universe, which, again, kind of like you said, not to touch on something too much, we'll talk about it in a moment, but the possibilities are truly endless, especially with breaking the fourth wall. And I would love to see Deadpool kick down the door of like Kevin Feige and them while they're kind of like shooting. Oh my goodness, I would love to see them shooting a scene in the movie with Deadpool like on screen, and then he breaks through the door and like kills all of them, and then also himself. Like something like that would just be hilarious to see, which they can just go absolutely absurd with. So I'm really excited to see where they can go. Now, you mentioned about Spider-Man, Tom Holland mentioning about wanting to do a rated R team up film.
Yes.
If you could see any team up with Deadpool, what would it be? Would it be Spider-Man, or would it be somewhere else?
Well, I mean, they kind of have a luxury of being able to pick and choose, because again, going back to comics or even TV shows, we've seen Wolverine team ups, we've seen Hulk team ups briefly, but still. And then obviously like tons of Spider-Man. And then he's always been like the kind of guy who does the team ups of like the slightly abstract. Like he's not Captain America. He's not going to team up with Captain America, but the British version of Captain America, I can't even remember his name, but like he's with him. And so I think, I mean, outside of a Spider-Man Deadpool, which would be hilarious, I could see him and Hulk, if they wanted to bring Hugh Jackman in for like, not to officially revive himself as Wolverine, but just for the sake of being in Deadpool 3, kind of like how they opened the door in, literally opening the door in Deadpool 2 and seeing the entire current X-Men cast in there, and then just them like kind of closing the door. Something like that to have, whether he's Logan or, you know, the old man Logan or straight up Wolverine. I think having him in there would be super cool. So if I had to pick one not Spider-Man thing, I think it might be a Hugh Jackman Wolverine, but it's got to be Hugh Jackman just because of their chemistry together. I think that would be so fun.
I would have to 100% agree with you. I'm kind of going through a bunch of other team-ups he's done. We are getting the character introduced to us shortly. But before I jump into that one, I would love to see Deadpool and the Deadpool Corps. Like, it's just all the different Deadpools. Like, there's just a head of Deadpool, Lady Deadpool, Dogpool, all those different kind of things there.
Like Spider-Pig.
Oh my god,
or
please.
Spider-Ham.
What I see in here, I don't know if exactly if it's a team-up or more of kind of a, like what Cable and Deadpool had in the previous one, but Taskmaster in Deadpool, since we are getting him introduced into Black Widow. I think that'd be kind of
That
cool.
would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also know that, like, just behind the scenes, same thing with Hugh Jackman. He's real good buddies with Jake Gyllenhaal. Maybe we see Spider-Man, Mysterio, and Deadpool all in one movie together.
That'd be cool. That would be
That would
really
be
neat to
sweet.
see, because I'm sure they do a lot of things where people don't actually die, and I would be very shocked if Mysterio is actually, spoilers, actually dead. Like, it would be mind-blowing if that was true.
Especially when they kind of have that sort of thing about him. Like, there are some characters who they really don't joke around like that. Like, we all know that Black Widow's just dead. Like, that's just what happens. Again, sorry, spoiler alert. But, like, she's just gone. And then, like, the first version of Gamora, they kind of fixed it to have her in, but, like, that's a different person. But when it comes to those sort of, like, tricky, I mean, literally tricksters like Loki, how many times has Loki died? How many times has Nick Fury died? Those guys whose, like, job is to kind of be mysterious or tricky or unpredictable. So you're totally right. They could absolutely, in so many different ways, have him come back in a way that, you know, is justified, or at least justifiable in the series.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see where they go with it.
For sure.
Again, there's truly just so much they'll be able to do. Now, you know, we can just go ahead and kind of keep it in the Marvel world, because we do have just a lot of Marvel news, and as all of you know, a lot of our news usually is superhero movies, because there are so many of them that there is just constant news kind of just revolving those films. So the next one we'll kind of go ahead and jump into is Morbius. You know, we were just kind of discussing some Spider-Man news and stuff like that, and it looks like Morbius is getting delayed 7 months from the original release date in 2021. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the original release date back in 2020, because I'm kind of curious.
Right. And honestly, these big delays seem less and less surprising, because we've seen so many movies fall victim to not delaying it enough that now they're stuck having to delay it again. And I think even just the perception of, like, having your stuff together and having a plan, if you keep having to push it back and push it back and push it back, even if it only is because of COVID, it just kind of looks like not a great sign for your movie. Whereas if they go, screw it, we'll wait 7 months, just try to outwait COVID, then it's like, okay, well, obviously they're just waiting because of COVID. And both could just be because of the one thing. think studios are just kind of avoiding that. All right, we'll wait a month. All right, we'll wait 2 months. All right, 3 months. All right, fine, next year. That sort of thing.
Yeah, and for what I'm seeing here, the original release date was July 10th, got pushed back 3 weeks to July 31st, then March 19th, 2021. Now it is going to be October 8th, 2021. It does just suck to see these movies bounce around so much. Because yes, I do agree with you. I think a lot of it could be COVID, and it was smart for them to go from March to October if they truly think that's where it's going to land. Because yeah, it would make it even worse, if they're delaying 3 more times, where it goes to from March to April, then June, then August, then it finally lands up in October. I would much rather prefer a single, here it is.
True. But I guess the way around that is just make a good freaking movie, because all the movies we've seen do that sucked ass. Like, how many times did New Mutants get delayed for it to look like that at the release? Same with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman got pushed back like 4 times. And that's what we got stuck with. And so it's a kick in the nuts, man, when you have to wait an extra year and a half, 2 years, sometimes more, to finally see the movie, and then it's just bad. And you're like, damn it. Whereas if it's a good movie, you're like, that was really worth the wait. I'm okay that we had to wait that extra 7 months. So I guess step 1 is just make a friggin' movie.
We will be talking about Zack Snyder and DC in a little bit here. And I just threw a little more news in that I'm not going to let you see until I bring it up. Because I saw it and I was like, I'll toss it aside. But I had to put it in now. It's not huge news. It's really small. It was more of a comment from an actor. So the next story we're going to go and jump into here is, we kind of jumped into it a little bit already, but the X-Men plans are currently in discussion to figure out how to bring the X-Men into the MCU. It is a 100% plan. It's been talked about a lot ever since the acquisition from Fox, but we will see this happen. And I threw this in here because I was kind of curious what you would like to kind of see. I know you actually already kind of mentioned something that could potentially work out very well.
That's kind of tough because X-Men, they had a rocky road at the end there. The last couple of movies, especially Dark Phoenix or whatever the hell that was called, those were just bad. Apocalypse wasn't good. They kind of did like a soft rebuild, and I don't know. They tried to it seems like, okay, so X-Men was like one of the first successful superhero franchises, right? That was like, that predated the MCU and the DCEU. That was like, holy crap, you actually can turn a comic book movie good. Because a lot of people forget or don't realize, but there was a time not that long ago where comic book movies kind of had that sort of stigma around them that video game movies do now, where it's like, yeah, you can, and I guess it'll make that specific fan base happy, but no one wants to watch that crap. It's gonna flop, it's gonna suck. You'll have like a couple people go see it who love the thing. Maybe it's bad enough that it becomes a cult hit, but no one really cares about that. And then I don't want to... There were a couple of things. Like, you had the Michael Keaton Batmans that were pretty decent. You had a couple of movies came out where you're like, maybe it works. And then the first couple real signs of that were Nolan's Batman movies, and even predating that, the X-Men universe. X-Men movie. X2 was huge. They lost it a little bit later on, but it didn't really matter because by then Iron Man blew up and we had the full MCU, and then DC is still trying to answer for that. But since then, it's just been widely accepted that superhero movies work. They just work. And so with X-Men now, it's like, okay, do you finally completely give up on the storyline that they'd been building? Because they had that, and then they tried to Days of Future Past it, where they kind of sort of twisted everything, and then just kind of went with new, mostly, but same story sort of thing. So I'm really curious to see how much more they can do with that. And as much as I'd love to see that same story kind of brought in, I kind of think the only way to do it is to hit the reset button. You can have things that are in from the past or sort of a nod to them, so like a respectful way to do that, but they just did so much, and they even had like crossover characters. So I don't know. It's going to be hard, and kudos to them if they can pull it off. But I just really don't see a super successful way to both keep the same X-Men universe and incorporate it into the MCU. I don't know. What do you think?
I do agree with you with a lot of it. It was messy. It was truly very messy because some stuff was actually pretty solid, and then some was really weak. I also I'd like to hear your thoughts as well, but some like I would love to see them bring back James McAvoy and oh goodness, who was Magneto?
Hmm?
Who played Magneto in the new X-Men? Drawing a blank.
Oh my God!
Michael Fassbender.
Thank you, Fassbender. Jesus,
Yes.
I had the fartiest. I had some Taco Bell style brain farts on that one, man. My God.
Yeah, so I mean, I loved the two of them. I thought they were great. I thought Evan Peters was great as Quicksilver.
Yeah.
But of course, there are some characters that are already in the universe that we've kind of seen in both a little bit here and there. I really think Quicksilver might be just one of them. They can do things because we're going to see the multiverse. We could see the new Quicksilver come into
true.
it. So there are ways around this. And I really do hope we get to see a couple of the characters return. The guy who plays Beast, I think, is great. I really have enjoyed him a lot in the newer stuff. I sadly cannot pull up his name quick enough. But as bad as a lot of the newer X-Men stuff has been, some I would love to see it transition over, and I do think the best ways they could do it is either through Deadpool or through Scarlet Witch. With Scarlet Witch...
Oh, I didn't think about the Scarlet Witch thing.
Because in the comics, it's like House of M, she wipes out all mutants, and they could kind of do a reverse play on that, where she does something maybe at the end. Maybe it could be in the TV show. I think that's a little dangerous, because if you put it in the TV show and people don't watch it, people are going to be like, why are X-Men here? And
that there is what scares me. I'm so sorry to interrupt. But I think now we've realized that's just something that I do sometimes. But that scares me so much because they have so much going on just Disney Plus or just TV. And it scares me that they're going to kind of overdo that and make it a necessity to watch all of those things in order to even understand what's going on. And at that point, I think they will lose more viewers than they'll gain. Myself included. I just don't have that kind of time to watch every single superhero show. It happened with the WB style stuff. Like I was all in on Arrow and Daredevil and the Punisher and the Flash, and then it was just too much. And honestly, as much as I liked all of those shows, I stopped watching them because I literally couldn't keep up anymore. So it really scares me that they're going to have critical information just on the TV show. If they keep it like they did with S.H.I.E.L.D., like I didn't even watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I get it. Like I still could follow along with the MCU. I still got everything in there. And then for people who did watch it, you just got a little bonus. Like maybe you saw a character in the background somewhere, or maybe they made a mention to something that was a big plot point in the show, but it's not like mission critical to the plot of the movies. And I think they really need to keep it that way.
Which so far they have done a really good job with that with Marvel. Daredevil, great show. Nothing in the show has anything to do with the movie, but there are little nods to the movie in the show. Same with Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Punisher.
God, I forgot all those.
Yeah, all four of those did really well with Marvel so far that they didn't need to. But I will say, having characters like Winter Soldier and Falcon that were on the big screen now in a TV show, and same with Wanda and Vision, there are concerns that they're bringing these blockbuster characters into TV shows. There's going to have to be some sort of draw to make people watch them, where it could be, not just the actors, but very critical information. Just like as you mentioned with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they didn't really do it a whole lot there. It is really funny, though, because I wish they did it with DC, because Arrow and Flash are just so perfect, I thought. For a very long time, Arrow did kind of fall off for a lot of people. But I would have loved to see crossover stuff with the movies, whether it be the actors or even just subplots. But yeah, it's definitely a dangerous place to tread, because there are plenty of people out there who won't watch the TV shows because, yeah, I mean, you know, you drop 15 episodes that are 40, 50 minutes each. Not everyone can keep up with that.
Time. I got time for like 1, maybe 2 shows, and then a third that I forget about. That you're just like, oh, I forgot I was watching that thing.
Yeah.
I don't got the time to watch every single show that they drop. But speaking of Daredevil, I forgot the actor's name again. This is not a good episode for us remembering names. But the guy who plays him is rumored to have an appearance in the new Spider-Man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
He's rumored to be in the Spider-Man. I don't think, from what I've heard so far, and this is not like for sure, just articles that I've read, is that they could use him kind of like they did in the comics a little bit, where it's more he's playing Matt Murdock and not Daredevil, that he'd be like Spider-Man's lawyer like he was in the comics. And the way they ended the last one, where Peter Parker gets outed to the world, I mean, the script writes itself on that one of he needs legal representation. Here's your guy. And then it gets to be a super fun thing for the diehard fans. And then it opens the door later to have him be part of the group, you know?
Yeah.
So that should be fun.
Yeah. And for what I do see here, Charlie Cox is back as Daredevil in Spider-Man 3, confirmed. So yeah. He'll make his grand debut in the MCU in the third Spider-Man film. I remember seeing this like a month ago, and it kind of just went over our heads because we don't really touch on the TV aspect too much. But no, yeah, I mean, it is really cool to see how they can kind of intertwine things, because they did a great job with all those characters outside of probably Iron Fist for most people, that it would be cool to see them kind of cross over from TV to movie, not just right now from movie to TV. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really great things they'll be able to do, and the multiverse is really going to open up everything when it comes to the X-Men, Spider-Man, Deadpool, that there's anything that they'll really be able to do. Great tangent, though, for us to be able to go from X-Men all the way out to the Marvel TV shows.
Yeah, and I actually have a question for you, too, because this is something that I've been thinking about for a while now. So between Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange 2, is Multiverse of Madness, right? That's the name of it?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Doctor Strange.
So between those two, we're going to have a lot of things change, a lot of precedents set, a lot of new storylines beginning, old storylines ending, that sort of stuff. And so we'll know like all of the future of the MCU, all the stuff that we were talking about with Deadpool, we'll know more of that afterwards. But it got me thinking, they have so many freaking people confirmed for these movies. We're going to have all the Spideys, a bunch of Spidey villains. We're going to get OG Doc Ock, OG Electro, all that kind of stuff. It makes me wonder which of those are going to be like lasting effects and which are just going to be cameos for fanfare. Because the whole Spider-Man thing, it could be something as simple as like, as the multiverse is going on, almost like a Spider-Verse sort of thing, where it's like you just kind of peek into sometimes. So I wonder if it'll just be like, oh no, something's collapsing, and then we just get glimpses, and so we can see like a 10-second clip of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man fighting OG Doc Ock, and then a glimpse of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man fighting OG Electro, and then we're right back, and that's all we see of them. Or if it's going to be like what the rest of Spider-Verse was like, and it's like, we're all here, this is a movie about us, let's mess some stuff up here. And I'm really curious to see just how many of those land on which side of that line. And so, long-winded, but the question for you is like, what would be more crucial for you? Like, what characters do you think need to stay, and which ones do you think can just be that sort of cameo? Like, would you want to see Matt Murdock as more than just Peter Parker's lawyer for a scene, or the OG Spider-Man just a glimpse into that as the multiverse does whatever?
So I will mention, from my knowledge, Matt Murdock, Daredevil, right now, is in the same universe. Because in the TV show, like in the second, I think there's 3 seasons, second or third season, we see newspaper articles of what is it called? Like the Avengers movie, like the big event, whatever they call it, and then we see articles about the Ultron as well, with him dropping the city. So he is definitely going to be in the universe, depending, of course, how much they use him. As for multiverses, I really do like that idea, because I believe in Multiverse of Madness, it's going to be much more of a tease, because I believe Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are both confirmed for that film as well.
Yes.
I really do like that idea, though, that maybe we just kind of see broken rifts or something like that, and then we see combat between them. Now, God, it would be cool to keep. That is so difficult, because I'm thinking that this whole time I've been like, yeah, we'll see him Multiverse for a split second. We'll see him in Spider-Man 3 for probably the whole movie, and then that'll be it. Never again. But I didn't even really think about that, of them actually returning. And not like in their own movies, but just returning as potential cameo characters later on.
Right. Because I agree with you. I think we'll get a peek of them, and then we'll see more of them in the third Spider-Man. But then even all the other characters that we've been talking about, all these people reprising their roles, or all these people confirmed for these movies, it's like, are you going to last in the MCU, or is this more of a cameo? And I just don't know. Same with how they could introduce Deadpool into the MCU, or how they could introduce the X-Men into the MCU. Is it going to be something they touch on in Deadpool 3, where it's like the continuity gem? Or is it going to be something that at least starts in one of those 2 movies about the multiverse? And same with X-Men, like we were talking about before. How are they going to introduce them? Is this going to be how? Are we going to get a tease of it? What's going to last? What's not? There's so much, and I just hope they balance it well. I don't know, because they can overdo either way, where they get everyone's hopes up about so many things happening in the MCU, and then all of them just end up being little clips and little teases and little fanfare sort of things, and then nothing changes. And you're like, well, why did you even get my hopes up for 2 years about all of these when none of them matter? But then they can overdo it on the other hand, and kind of like what we were talking about with the TV shows, they could just have too much going on at once, where if you introduce all of these characters and all of them stay beyond the credits of the movie they're introduced in, there's going to be so much coming at us that it's going to be a juggling act, and then something's going to drop. So I'm very cautiously optimistic and nervously excited about these, but I don't know.
Which I can definitely agree on your stance on it. I can see where you're coming from, because at the same time, people said and thought the same things when the Avengers movies were getting made, and after that, when they're like, you guys are bringing in so many characters, how are you going to balance all this and keep track of everything? Marvel has done a great job of keeping tabs on characters, whether maybe it's just a small cameo just to be like, oh yeah, that's right, Doctor Strange is here in Thor, when he was just being like a counselor for Thor at a point, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, okay, yeah, Doctor Strange is still in the universe and everything, just a little nods to be like, hey, don't forget that character. And hey, these characters know each other already. So there is plenty they'll be able to do, and I'm sure they'll be able to keep track of it well. But yeah, no, I'm dying to know what they're going to be able to do with it, because sadly we just don't know enough information on how crazy they're going to go. Because they could do anything. I mean, I really doubt we're going to see anything X-Men related in Multiverse of Madness. We could, though. We could get a little bitty hint or tease, but I don't know. There's definitely a lot to come, so I'm very excited, though. So we'll go ahead and move on over to, I guess, our last little bit of... Oh, no, we 2 more Marvel things for us for today. Just a quick one. Marvel is still hoping that May 2021 is going to be the release of Black Widow. They aren't planning on pushing it back right now. They're, fingers crossed, keeping it right where it is. So yeah, not a whole lot really to touch on that one. Just again, remember, hey, that movie is coming out hopefully May 2021. Just 4 months from now, we'll be getting Black Widow, hopefully a big screen, small screen, whatever it might be. And then something else I know you brought up right before the show for our last little bit of Marvel today is some rumors, some talk right now about Hulk finally getting another movie, and it could be a World War Hulk movie if they do take that step, which I've been begging for this for so long now. This is one of those Hulk storylines that I think could really make Hulk, which they've already done a pretty good job, making him more than just Hulk smash, and it really gives a lot of depth to the character, I think.
I totally agree. It's like everything they did in Thor Ragnarok with the Hulk by not making it just Bruce Banner raging when he's mad, but it's like there's Bruce Banner and there's the Hulk. They have two personalities, both have depth, both have like you can get attached to them. And so you get that for a whole movie. And it's finally a Mark Ruffalo-led Hulk movie because we just haven't had one yet. Yep. So yeah, I think that could be a nice thing that they could finally touch on. One of the things that, while everything else maybe might be feeling like it's moving fast to the point of maybe being too fast, Hulk is one of those things that it's like one of those it's about time sort of things. He's been in. It was the second movie. It was the second Marvel thing. I mean, it was Iron Man, and then a few months later it was Hulk, and that wasn't the same Hulk that stayed, but it was the same-ish sort of storyline. Mark Ruffalo just sort of picked up where they left off for Avengers. But we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen a Mark Ruffalo Hulk outside of half of Ragnarok, which was awesome. But I think it's about time that he gets a movie of his own.
Yeah, 100%, because, they've shown us Professor Hulk at this point. And, again, there is a lot of really cool stuff we'll be able to see with it. So I would be cool with just Professor Hulk. And that's where they could take a Planet Hulk movie or World War Hulk, whatever they decide to do, because he does have, his own intelligence now. He has anything he wants to be able to do with it. So, yeah, no, it would be really cool to see. Now, we're going to go ahead and move on over to DC before we kind of talk about some more generalized news for us today. We only have 2 DC stories, but our first one I thought was kind of just a fun nod for us because we both hated this movie. Wonder Woman finally got verified rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. It is now down to a 60% and dropping score. So, honestly, not too surprised, but I'm glad that it's kind of finally getting the full, hey, everyone did not like this movie. I'm sure they're going to make the next one, though.
Yeah, I still feel bad for the people who tried really hard, and you can pick some of them out, but God,
really.
Yeah, there wasn't anyone that I thought really dropped the ball. I mean, they kind of worked with what they had, and there were a couple times where you were like, yeesh, it's a little rough, but that was more so the writing than it was the acting itself. So, yeah, I feel bad for those involved that actually gave a damn. But God, that movie did just suck. It was just bad. Go check out our review to see us actually, rage about it. But it's 2021. We're talking about good movies now. Damn it. We've reviewed Soul. It was good. We're doing some good stuff.
Yeah, and hey, honestly, we might be crazy. So, let us know. If you want this comments and the Wonder Woman comments, just go ahead and let us know what you thought of the movie. Maybe we're wrong, and we just need you to explain it to us. But, yeah, Wonder Woman, finally, rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. And then finally, Henry Cavill's Superman news. If you want to go ahead and break that one down, Alex, since you did find that one for us today.
Sure. So, we've talked about this in the past, about how, Batfleck and Henry Supes are both gone. But that is just not true anymore, because Henry Cavill just signed a 3-movie deal to return as Superman. So for at least 3 more movies, we're going to be, I almost said stuck with, but actually I like him as Superman. We'll have, Henry Cavill Superman movies. And like I said, I like them. So I really don't have anything bad to say about that. Even Man of Steel. I liked Man of Steel. The ending was a little meh, but the rest of the movie was pretty solid.
I agree, man. I really like Henry Cavill a lot. I think Man of Steel might be one of the best DC movies I've ever seen, including the all the Batman movies that are great. I mean, Dark Knight Rises is definitely my number 1, but I don't know. I'd have to watch Dark Knight Rises.
Wait,
Dark Knight
Rises?
No, sorry.
Okay.
Just the Dark Knight.
Right.
Okay, I was going to say Dark Knight Rises. I think Man of Steel might go ahead of that. Maybe. I did like
I think I
Man
might
of
agree with you on that one.
It's really. I'd probably flip a coin on that one. They're both really good, and I'm glad to see that he's gonna come back. So it's definitely very nice to hear.
Yeah, as much as we crap on the DC EU and DC movies and specifically Zack Snyder, I don't want them to fail, you know? I think like the whole I think this whole superhero thing working is when both DC and Marvel are successful. You can have diehard nerds on each side hate each other for it. Who cares? I want them to work. I want to watch a DC movie that I like. But they're just very few and far between right now. Outside of the Nolans, not a whole lot. There's like the first Wonder Woman, Shazam, Man of Steel. Kind of it. And that's why you see them soft rebooting their franchise already. And I don't love that. I don't love when one is failing and the other is succeeding. So let's just, either, I don't know. They just suck. And I wish they didn't, but they do. I'm not even a DC guy. Like, between the two, I'd probably lean Marvel. But it just sucks seeing all these really cool potential stories crap the bed and just suck, man.
I'm glad you brought up Zack Snyder again, because this isn't really news that we were gonna dive into. I just saw an article on Screen Rant, and it pretty much goes on to say that the only way Black Adam will be able to work is if it's with Zack Snyder, because it has to keep his dark grittiness. I thought it was actually a comment from The Rock, but it actually wasn't, sadly. But it's just the title of the article. I thought I'd get a kick out of telling you that.
Since when is dark grittiness in a superhero movie only a Zack Snyder thing? I mean, we had
Nolan.
Yeah. Even in Thor Ragnarok had some moments. And
I'd say Thor. What is it? Dark Tower. Dark Tower.
Dark World.
Is it Dark World?
Dark Tower is the other movie that didn't do so well. But yeah, Thor Dark World.
The second one. Okay.
But I mean, Endgame, Infinity War, Endgame. You telling me that wasn't dark and gritty? They killed off half the freaking universe, and then they had super aggro, depressed Thor, and then eating disorder Thor, and then crying in front of his mom because he's heartbroken Thor. You can have emotion and feelings and dark moments in movies, and it doesn't have to involve Zack Snyder. Like you said, Nolan did it in all three of them, and with the exception of half of The Dark Knight Rises, they were all phenomenal. Get Zack Snyder away from these freaking movies, or teach him how to make a freaking movie. This isn't 300 anymore. You can't just blood and slow-mo your way through an entire universe of superheroes. It's just not gonna work. You need for us to care. You need characters with depth. You need something to give a shit about, Snyder. And it's not just a sepia-toned bullshit lab or a nearly black and white slow-mo shot of someone getting shot in the streets. No one cares about that stuff if that's the main point of your movie. If it's part of it, fine. But if I don't give a shit, then I'm just not gonna give a shit. So make me care. Damn it, I thought we would make it through one. I thought we'd make it through one episode where it wasn't a Snyder or a Tim Allen or a Doolittle or an Elf or a something. Always gotta be something, man. Damn it.
Hey, I totally get it. We'll go and bounce over to some little more lighthearted news, and then to some more just discussion kind of on our own thoughts. So the next thing I do have for us on here is there was a little Netflix teaser that dropped earlier today, and it's just a bunch of actors. Pretty much any actor that you could think of that's been in a Netflix original movie, from Chris Hemsworth, I think, Jennifer Gardner, yeah. Yeah, Jennifer Gardner, a bunch of different people in there. Like Dwayne The Rock Johnson was in there too. A bunch of big actors were pretty much like all just in like a group chat sort of thing. It was like a cute little thing they did, and it was just kind of a big thing, little tease about like, hey, tomorrow we have some really big news. Don't know what it is yet. Could be a bunch of trailers for movies. We could get maybe like a 10-minute Netflix trailer bomb or something like that. Would be really cool. We'll kind of have to see what they do though. I'm very interested because Netflix original movies have been way better than I've been expecting. Did you ever see Underground 6 with Ryan Reynolds?
No, I don't think so.
Next time we do a like watch a movie just because like we feel like reviewing it, I would love to watch that with you. It is such a good movie. Ryan Reynolds kind of takes a break away from the super jokester role, and it is a little serious. Don't get me wrong, he has some humor, little quirkiness to all his characters that he has, but it is a very different role for him, and it is awesome. So
sweet.
Netflix,
man.
yeah, Netflix has knocked it out of the park recently when it comes to it's movies that are just like Netflix movies, and it's been awesome, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do tomorrow.
Yeah, and by the time this episode drops, that will have already happened. So if it's anything big, then we'll probably talk about it in our review episode, or maybe next week or whatever it is, if it's worth mentioning. But yeah, that should be some interesting stuff that drops.
I'll bring it up now. If you're up for it, we'll just do it. But because we're going to be doing the review tomorrow, when this drops, we'll talk about Netflix as well. Maybe do you just want to watch Underground 6?
It's so funny. I was going to talk to you about that after we stopped recording. Like, why don't we just do that then?
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. You guys will know what the review is already.
This is how this happens all the time. If you're wondering about like the behind the scenes, like the minutia of the show, this is it. It's just us like, you want to just like do the thing? We're like, all right, sure. So yeah, there we go. We got our review.
Cool. I'm so excited for you to see it, dude. It's such a fun movie and so well written. Whoever wrote that deserves everything and anything when it comes to movie. All I know, it was Ryan Reynolds that did it, but it was so good.
Underground 6. It sounds like a sequel to that Buried movie that he did too.
Yeah, right. Literally, yeah. Underground 6 feet. Jeez. I'm super excited for us to watch it, but yeah, we'll see. We'll go ahead and talk about the news, and you'll go ahead and get to see what it is on Saturday when the review does get to come out.
Well, there we go.
The last thing we're going to go ahead and touch on for us today. This is kind of just something I actually heard on David Dobrik's podcast, funny enough, is how it is currently affecting movie stars who make money off of box office because they get a portion of box office tickets normally, the very big actors. And something he was kind of mentioning is maybe we'll start to see more internet influencers start getting smaller movie roles, because as he mentioned, he's like, I'm someone with a lot of followers. Can I get someone to go see a movie in theaters? Not a chance. Now, can I go get someone to watch a YouTube film or something like some other movie? Yeah, I think I would be able to do that. And you might get to start seeing people like David Dobrik, King Batch, which he's already been in some films.
Yeah, I was going to say, they got some Vine stars that have already done that.
Exactly, yeah.
It's crazy.
So I think that is really interesting. And what do you think that might do to the movie industry? Do you think that we'll maybe start to see some of the bigger actors not exactly take a step back, but maybe they'll start going with influencers because they're going to be a lot cheaper in comparison? You're not going to have to pay them $3 million for a movie or 20% of the movie. You'll just probably pay them $500K and they'll be like, all right, I'm down. So
honestly, man, it's possible. I think you'll have some purists who are in that like film is film and that sort of camp. But yeah, I mean, I think it's totally possible for in both directions too. Have some universally accepted movie stars do some internet stuff and then have some influencers or whatever, TikTok, I've used to be Vine and all this, whoever it is, we could see them sort of step into that role. I think that line will be a little bit blurred because of that. And I think that like anything, for a while it's going to be weird, and then it'll sort itself out. And whether that means that stops when COVID is like gone, and when things are back to actually normal, and then that stops, or if that just becomes normal, where it's like, oh yeah, that guy who's got like 13 million followers on TikTok or whatever, he's in the new The Rock movie, so he's in Central Intelligence 3, and that's just how it is. Or you'll be like, oh yeah, YouTube, because of the whole COVID thing, they started making more movies, because they've experimented with that before too, where they're not just a platform for creators to post things. There's YouTube Red, YouTube TV, YouTube Pre, whatever the hell it's called now.
Yeah, I mean, hell, Cobra Kai came from that. That's where Cobra Kai started, and it blew up, and it's incredible now. Yeah,
so I think if you told me that in a year there would be a TikTok TV, and then they have like feature length or even just like sitcom length episodes or shows or a series.
They have them on YouTube now. I'm dead serious. It's called it's literally called like TikTok something. TikTok Hospital or something like that. Yeah, it's something like that, and it's literally
weird.
It's a show about like kids who are like doctors and stuff, and it's like I don't know. I watched some YouTubers talk about it, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, it's happening. So
there you go. So yeah, I think that line's going to blur a lot, and I think that those influencer platforms are going to start producing more content that is sort of in that TV movie vein. And then I think it wouldn't surprise me at all if you had some people from those worlds dabble into those, if you see them on, I mean, I don't know. Everything is media nowadays, and it's just going to be, how can we get people to watch this? And I think they'll find a way. Life finds a way. I just watched that today.
I couldn't agree with you more. Honestly, there's a lot of weird and big things to come in the movie industries, whether it is maybe downsizing of movies because, they're going to take a bigger hit from the box office, or just seeing content creators from different platforms kind of making a bigger stand in there, which is going to be really cool to see. Do you have any other news for us, though, Alex, before we wrap it up today? I think that's pretty much it.
I really don't. I think we hit it all. So I think the only news that we have left is to tell the people where they can find us. Where can they find us, Brandon?
So the people, hi, people. You can find us pretty easily on thenerdchambers.com. If you're on YouTube, just check out the description. Everything is in there for you guys, from where to watch the podcast, where to follow us on our websites, all our social media platforms. So definitely check that out. Also, if you're on Spotify, and I think even Apple Podcasts, click on the description in the link description, or however they do it on those platforms, and you can just click on any of those. Brings you right to our merch shop, our website, all that good stuff. So thenerdchambers.com. If you want to check us out on other platforms, of course, just go ahead and type in TNC Movie Nights. We're even on Google. It's pretty cool. We also do have our own merch. Yeah, we made it to the Google. Got our merch, as Alex has just shown his over there as well. If you want to support the show or any of us, we really do appreciate it. It's been a really fun ride over the last couple of years now that we've been doing this, and the last 6 months now that we've been doing this show, and everything that any sort of sponsoring or helping us out, we really do appreciate it. It makes us know that you guys are enjoying the show, and someday we kind of hope that this can be our career somehow. It'd be cool.
That would be awesome. This is the amount of times that we just sit and talk about dumb stuff to get to make that the job. That would be insane.
Yeah, it's definitely the dream. Maybe someday.
Hey, that's up to you guys. But also, while you're there, just let us know. I mean, we've been talking about it a lot more recently, but if we read comments, we're not those big timers who get hundreds of thousands of them and have no time for them.
If anything, we're just not used to them, so we might take a couple days because we're like, whoa, we got a comment.
Right, we gotta brag about it first. But yeah, let us know. We would love to hear your insight on whatever the hell it is we're talking about that day. Any recommendations, anything like that. You guys know the drill by now, so we'll be happy to interact with you guys.
Yeah. Well, it's been a fun one.
Been a fun one. Alex, Brandon, bye guys.
Bye-bye.